Picture this. You want to make a video, right? But instead of cameras and editing software, all you need are words. You just type what you want to see and boom, video.
Sounds pretty futuristic, right?
Totally. But that future might be closer than we think. We're diving into Meta's brand new AI research, MovieGen, and let me tell you, it's wild. They dropped this whole blog post outlining the tech, and it's got me wondering, what are the real-world implications of something like this?
Yeah, you're right to be thinking about that, and that's what we're here to unpack today.
Exactly. Luckily, we have expert speaker here to break it all down. So what's the big deal with MovieGen? What makes it stand out?
Well, I think what's really interesting is that they're not just generating those really basic videos from text like we've seen before. This is different. MovieGen has four, we can call them superpowers, or I guess four core capabilities that really try to elevate the possibilities of AI video generation.
Okay, so let's hear it. What can MovieGen do? The blog post mentioned generating videos just from text prompts, personalizing videos using an image like someone's face, editing with text commands, and even AI audio that syncs to the video. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Those are the big ones. But it's not just about like checking boxes. It's about how they're doing it. Take the whole video generation thing, for example. We're not talking about just like static images. MovieGen can actually handle object motion, how objects and subjects interact, even different camera angles, which is incredibly difficult to pull off in a way that makes sense.
Okay, so we're not just talking about like two objects floating around randomly. There's actual interaction, different perspectives, movement.
Exactly.
That's really impressive. Now, one thing that stuck with me was they mentioned the videos are about 16 seconds long. So is that a limit, or are we just in the super early stages here with longer videos on the horizon?
Yeah, that's a great question. And honestly, just getting to that 16-second mark with video, this high-quality video that's coherent, makes sense. It's a huge technical feat. The paper did mention that scaling up, making it bigger, and optimizing are kind of the next steps for them. So longer videos are probably almost definitely in the pipeline.
Yeah.
But I think what they've accomplished, even at 16 seconds, it opens up some really exciting possibilities.
It really does. And honestly, 16 seconds is still, that's a lot of time to play with.
Absolutely.
Especially if we're talking, social media, short form content, stuff like that.
Exactly. And that seems to be, at least at this stage, sort of their target, I think.
Yeah.
That short form content creation.
So speaking of those applications, one thing that really stood out to me in the blog post was Meta emphasizing that MovieGen isn't about, replacing artists, taking over Hollywood, anything like that.
Right.
It's more about like opening up new doors, new ways to create. So what are some of the ways they actually see this tech being used?
Yeah, they had some really interesting examples. Like, imagine creating these like animated day in the life reels, those short little videos.
Okay.
But you just describe it.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Right. Or how about personalized birthday greetings, but with visuals generated from someone's picture? It seems like the big overarching goal is really about making video creation more accessible, which is huge.
It's huge. Think about it. Like, you could be brainstorming a video idea, and then this AI just takes care of all the technical stuff, all those hurdles. That's incredibly empowering.
Yeah, it really levels the playing field for people who maybe don't have the resources or the know-how for traditional video production.
So we're talking like indie filmmakers, small businesses, even just someone with a cool idea and a smartphone.
Exactly. And that could be their entry point. Like, this could be their stepping stone into making video content. But on the other hand, that ease of access, it does, bring up some interesting questions.
Oh, absolutely. Because we're not just talking about like a fun little tech demo here. This is something that has the potential to really shake things up. This could be seriously disruptive. So, expert speaker, what's the bigger picture here? Why should we care about MovieGen beyond the wow, cool tech factor?
Well, I think what's really fascinating is that this isn't happening in a vacuum. It's all connected, right? What Meta's doing here, it's part of this larger trend. They have a history of open sourcing a lot of their AI models.
Okay.
Which means that other researchers and developers, they can actually build upon that work, expand it. It's not just Meta working on this. It becomes this collaborative thing. And this specific research, this MovieGen, it builds on their previous work, actually, with image generation, audio generation. So it's all like weaving together.
So it's not just like Meta's creating this cool tech and then keeping it to themselves. They're actually contributing to this whole ecosystem of AI development.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, like, what's going to happen next?
Yeah.
What is that ripple effect going to look like, across the entire tech landscape?
Right, because if they're building off of this, who knows what other breakthroughs could come from it.
And that brings up some really, really important things to consider. We're talking about ethics now
Yeah.
because, as this tech keeps getting better, more powerful, how do we make sure it's being used responsibly?
Right.
How do we prevent misuse? These are conversations that, honestly, we need to be having right now. Like, this is the time to talk about it.
Yeah, it can't wait until it's like too late. And those conversations need to include, everybody. It can't just be the big tech companies deciding these things. Okay, we've talked about the capabilities, the potential applications, the broader impact on, AI as a whole. But let's bring it back down to earth for a second. If you had access to Movie Gen today, what would you create? Like, what's your first instinct? Okay, we've talked about the capabilities, the potential applications, the broader impact on, AI as a whole, but let's bring it back down to earth for a second. If you had access to Movie Gen today, what would you create? Like, what's your first instinct?
Oh, man, that's a tough one. So many possibilities, right? I think for me, I'd be really curious to see how it handles more abstract ideas. Like what happens if you type in the feeling of nostalgia or the sound of silence? Things that aren't so easily visualized.
Ooh, that's interesting. See, I'd probably go in a totally different direction. I'd be like feeding it all these weird random storylines I've come up with over the years. Those ones that are too out there to actually film. It'd be like having a digital puppet show where anything is possible.
I love that. It really speaks to the kind of the playful, experimental side of this tech. Like, it doesn't all have to be serious, high concept stuff. It can just be about, like, having fun and seeing what happens.
Totally. And who knows, maybe those little experiments could lead to like the next big creative breakthrough.
Exactly. That's what's so exciting about this field. It's like we're still just scratching the surface of what's possible.
Absolutely. Expert speaker, this has been an amazing deep dive into Meta's Movie Gen. We've covered so much ground, from how it works to the potential ethical implications. Where can people go to learn more about this?
Well, the best place to start is Meta's blog post. It goes into a lot more detail about the technical aspects, the research behind it.
Perfect. We'll make sure to link to that in the show notes for anyone who wants to dive deeper.
Sounds good.
Expert speaker, thanks so much for joining us and breaking it all down. It's been a fascinating conversation.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
And for everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI and creativity. Until next time, keep exploring.